In first lesson, I'm going to show you how to make a slip knot and how to make a chain. And also we will talk about the structure of the chain and a stitch. So you will need a hook and a yarn. And whatever you see right now, I already made a slip knot. This is how it looks like. And a base stitch. Now I will unravel it and I will show you how I did this. So place the yarn over your left hand on the top of the fingers. With the thumb, secure the yarn in place. And you see, I'm not holding it like there. Secure it where the pinky is and the ring finger, right on the bottom. Now with the right hand, pick up the other end of the yarn and wrap it around the two fingers. And if you notice, I wrapped it around and it looked like an X. Then pick up the hook and insert the hook under the first right strand of yarn, right over here. With the hook, grab the left part of yarn and move it out to the right, like that. Secure this yarn on the hook with your right hand fingers and remove left hand. Now pick up the short tail of yarn and pull on it. As you pull on it, you see that you're forming a knot. This is a slip knot. Now pick up the long tail of yarn, the one that attached to the skein, and pull on it. But when you pull, please don't pull this direction because you will lose your stitch. It will fall off the hook. So secure this hook with the yarn on the hook with the right hand and pull on the yarn toward you, this direction. Pull on it. And as you pull, you will make a base stitch. And now you are ready to crochet. I will show you one more time how I did the slip knot, and then we'll continue with the chain. Place the yarn over the fingers, secure the yarn with a thumb. With another hand, pick up the yarn, wrap it around fingers like this. Then pick up the hook, insert the hook on the right side, yarn, and grab the yarn on the left and pull it out to the right. Secure the yarn on the hook with the fingers and remove your left hand from this loop. Now you have short tail and a tail attached to the skein. Pull on the short tail. By doing this, you tie in the knot, slip knot, and by pulling on the long tail, you creating a base stitch. And now we're ready to crochet. Now, before you crochet, there are a few more important things you have to remember and learn how to do before you start crocheting. This is how you hold the hook and the yarn. So the hook is always you have to hold like this, like a pen. Some people have tendency to hold the hook this way, but this is incorrect way actually to hold it. I know there are a lot of books shown it as another way of holding the hook. Yes, this is another way, but it's not correct. It will actually with time affect your arm, and you will have a lot of pain in your arm and even in your elbow and shoulder. This is not a very good way of holding it and crocheting. When you constantly move in your hand, you irritate the wrong muscles, so you will have a lot of pain. So the best way and correct way of holding the hook, if you are a new beginner, learn to do this right away correctly. This is correct way of holding the hook, like a pen. Now, your left hand, place in front of you on the yarn, just like I did. Wrap the yarn around the pinky. By doing this, it will help you with the tension of the thread, yarn. Then move the yarn over the fingers of your left hand. Move the index finger on the top of the yarn and move your right hand now with the yarn toward you. How far to move? The distance between the slip knot and the index finger of your left hand has to be around 2 inches, something like that. Now, with the middle finger, hold the slip knot on the back and the thumb place on the top of the slip stitch. So pinch it, not hard, just hold it. This will help you use your base stitch and your all work not to move back and forth, slide on a hook when you don't need it. So this is why you're holding this part right here, right at the bottom of the hook. So now this is position of your hands. Now the hook itself, as you can see, have interesting shape. We have the tip of the hook or the head of the hook, a throat, this narrow part, and a body of the hook, a thicker part. When you crochet, the tip of the hook, you can see it's right now looking up. It cannot be like this, you cannot position it like that, and you cannot position this way. The hook actually has to be turned toward you and looking down, not completely, just a little bit turned to you, just very little. By doing this, it will help you to move the hook through the stitches easily. If you will hold the hook this way, you will not be able to move out, because with the hook you will grab the stitch. So this is why you position the hook right away correctly from the very beginning, and pay attention how the hook positioned in your hand. Sometimes you can hold it like that, a little bit on an angle this way. My hook always laying in my hand and resting on this part of my hand. It's very comfortable to crochet this way, and believe me, you will find your way of comfort, the way it's comfortable to holding a hook, because you see I'm holding it with those two fingers, and even this finger involved to hold my hook, but it depends again how you will used to it. Most of the time, the way you hold the pen when you write, this is the way you will hold the hook. Okay, so wrap around the pinky the yarn and hold it like that, and hold the work with the middle finger and thumb right here. And now you're ready to crochet. So here's the way you position the hook, the hands and the yarn, and you're ready to crochet. So the first step, we're going to make a chain. First chain. Most instructions will say chain 10. That means that you crochet 10 stitches. We will not count this base stitch as number 1. This is not counted. This is just a base stitch. So if we are not counting the stitch, we are going to make first stitch. Now notice the yarn behind the hook. Hook is down, the head of the hook down. Now we will move the hook away from you to the back, up, grab the yarn, and bring the hook in the same position it was before, toward you, like this. And make sure the head is down. Now move the hook to the right with the yarn. Move it to the right and out, pull it through the stitch. And you made your first stitch. The second stitch, the same thing. Hook a little bit behind, up, grab the yarn, bring the hook in the position it was before. And now move the hook with the yarn to the right through the stitch and out. Now notice where my stitch that I just made is. It's not a good place for the stitch to be. Never hold your stitch on the throat of the hook. Always move it here. This is where it should be, on a thick part of the body of the hook. Again, out, up, rotate the hook and bring it to the first position. Move the hook to the right with the yarn and through this previous stitch. Make a stitch and move it on the hook. Again, hook to the back, rotate up and toward you by grabbing the yarn and bring the hook in the previous position, ready to move. Move the hook with the yarn to the right and take it out. Back, up, grab the yarn, bring it toward you, move the hook to the right with the stitch and create a new stitch. Every time your chain getting longer, move the middle finger and the thumb close to the hook. Hold it right here. By the way, I recommend even move it all the time, every time when you're beginner. Keep it here, your two fingers, the thumb and middle finger. This actually will prevent from loose or tight crocheting. It will help with the tension. Now one more time. On the back, rotate up toward you, grab the yarn and move the hook with the yarn to the right through the previous stitch and place the stitch on the thick body of the hook. Now look at the stitches I just made. All of them the same size. This is very important, that all the stitches will have the same size. To do that, always check that your yarn on the hook just snug on that hook. It is not loose like that, and it is not tight. Cannot be like that. You see what's going on? It cannot be like that. It has to be snug, just snug. So make sure, practice making a chain slowly, watching video first and then do it together with the video. And I do this very slowly, helping you to watch it in action, that you can repeat all moves of the hook and your hands. Now we made a chain, and I will take my hook out because it will be on the way. And let's look at the stitches itself. When you look at the stitches, all of them look like they have a shape of a letter V. And what I mean by that? You see, this is a stitch right here, letter V. The same this one, and all of them. So always remember, the first stitch that we just made with a slip knot is a base stitch, and then the rest of them counting first, second, third, and so on. And also the last stitch, when you begin a new row, you begin to count not from this stitch, but the stitch under the hook from the chain. First, second, third, fourth, and so on. Normally you will not see these big holes. Depends again on the yarn you use and on the hook. Just for the video purposes that you can see very good, I picked up on purpose a very thick bulky yarn and a big bulky thick hook that you can see very good the movements and everything I do. So this is the chain look on the front. On the back, the chain look different. You have these bumps right here, those bumps. When you will crochet the first row, you will always insert the hook into the back of the stitch. This back's called a back loop. Sometimes this is when you make first row. You can also make the first row by going on the back of the chain, by inserting the hook under the bump right over there. It's also possible. This will create and make a very beautiful edge on the bottom that will look like this. Now the structure of the stitch. All stitches have the front loop right here, my hook under the front loop, and the back loop. Here it is. At first I wanted to learn to hook. When you crochet, insert the hook under the front and under the back loops of the stitch, into both loops. Pattern will always indicate and always will tell you where to insert the hook, into the front loop or onto the back loop. So you always have to read the pattern carefully before you start crocheting. The pattern will always tell crochet from the back loop or crochet from the front. That means you know where to go, where to insert the hook, to the back or to the front loop. If there's no indication whatsoever, if a pattern don't mention where to insert the hook, that means that you will insert the hook under the front loop and under the back loop and crochet in this way. So this is all you need to know for the first lesson. Practice to make a slip knot and a chain. And for the second lesson, make a chain long enough to practice your swatch, chain 10 or 12 stitches, and be ready for the second lesson. And I will see you then.